Wow, welcome back to the channel. I recorded 5 things and I finished recording 5 things, just about to go live with Rio, and I got a text off Ben saying Amorim sacked, and I'm like, you what? So that's, an hour and a half-ish ago now. Confirmed by Manchester United, Ruben Amorim has been sacked. Absolutely defining moment of not just Manchester United, but especially this Ineos era. Ruben Amorim has departed his role as head coach of Manchester United with immediate effect. And that is the club's official announcement. And I think the wording is very, very important. Now, the fact that Ruben Amorim's like, I'm here to be the manager, not the head coach. And they went, do you know what? We agree. Off you go. I think the fact that they come out and specified head coach is very, very key. Now, obviously, that decision comes with United finished sitting in 6th, just 3 points off top 4, but also just 3 points off being 12th as well. I'm going to break down exactly what's happened as it's happened according to both the club's message and how we've got here over the last 14 or so months. So first, let's talk straight off what United communicated, because I think there's a little bit of clapping back in terms of what the club have gone on and done. So they confirmed a little bit earlier today that he is no longer the head coach. Statement notes that he was appointed in November 2024, led the club to Europa League final in Bilbao in May, and the club expressed his gratitude for his contribution and wished him well for the future, but also confirmed that Fletcher is going to take charge on an interim basis, starting with the upcoming match against Burnley on Wednesday night. Since then, that's been kind of confirmed by David Ornstein, that is going to be until the summer. Now, that does bring up some questions for who is going to be next, and I've already started writing up a list of who I think might be worth looking at in terms of potential future managers. Gareth Southgate is on the do not hire list. Now, I think the statement goes on and says it all, and we should report that as facts while we're live, I think, because I think that's very important. Today's decision is presented by the club as a strategic change aimed at maximising the team's prospects in the Premier League this season, right? It isn't a retirement. It isn't a mutual decision. It's a decision made by the club to sack him, okay? So what the official media are saying, Reuters have come out, major outlets coming out confirming it, and also on a little bit of context saying Amorim's tenure was described as turbulent, which I think is putting it mildly. The form in the league this season has been mad inconsistent. We are 6th after 20 matches. We are 17 points behind the leaders Arsenal, but we have only won 3 of our last 11 matches. That's not good enough. And that's had a big factor in why he's gone. Also in the reports, people are talking about the press conference, and I think the press conference is very key. He publicly stated that he sees himself as a manager and not just a head coach, a phrase which went rapidly viral last night and seemed to have more people talking about that than the actual result and performances of the game. And I think the fact that the club chose to use certain words in their statement, I think really tells us a hell of a lot about how the club themselves have reacted to this. An emergency meeting supposedly happened last night, according to Fabrizio, where this all came out. Now, as I was live with Rio, I was doing a little bit of Googling, and I Googled Man United club statement because I wanted to get the actual statement up. Now, the club statement says 10:08 is when it was published, but on Google it said 9 hours ago. This is about an hour ago, so that would have been about midnight last night that the club actually uploaded this to the club website. So that tells me that they sat on it and waited till this morning. That's a bit crazy. Now, obviously, he was appointed on the 1st of November 2024, replaced Erik ten Hag, whose departure came earlier that season after a series of poor results. He took his first game on the 11th of November, and that was a 1-1 draw away against Ipswich. So it's just over 14 months in the job. Now, the stats from his tenure are not good. The cold, hard numbers tell us exactly why he was sacked. And I think that the statement yesterday was the straw that broke the camel's back. Now, across all competitions, he had 63 matches in charge. And of those games, he only had 25 wins, 15 draws, 23 losses. That's a 39-ish% win rate. Now, that is historically low for United managers in the Premier League, and it's like the worst since the 70s. In his first season in charge, he finished 15th, which I do think was artificially low, because I think we tried to prioritise a little bit of Europa League, which obviously we didn't end up winning. It's our worst top-flight finish in 35 years, and we failed to qualify for European competition for the first time in 11 years. This season, there has been signs of improvement in some metrics. We saw our XG rise by about 20 or so percent. We are one of the better teams in terms of chance creation. So there is a sign of greater attacking intent, but the defensive issues have either remained or gotten worse. So while those stats, I think, do paint a picture of some flashes of progress, it never really translated into sort of sufficient winning runs. And the fact that it took him a year to get back-to-back winning games is mental in the grand scheme of things, isn't it? Now, key moments over the past year. There were several really high-profile moments that I think defined his time at Old Trafford. We had that 4-0 home win against Everton in December, where I think everyone got a little bit excited. We saw some potential in his attacking ideas. We had a 2-1 away win against City in October, which was a pretty good one. And we had a win over Liverpool at Anfield, our first since 2016, which was a bit of a landmark. We saw a real tactical performance from United, a real fighting performance from United. And I mentioned this, I don't know if I mentioned it in 5 things, which you're not going to see because it's pointless fucking posting it now, or if I mentioned it yesterday, I can't remember. But one thing that you can say about Amorim and his team, if you think back to the Ralph Rangnick days, and you think back to some of the teams that we've seen, and some of the ways that we've seen United deal with poor performances. The Ralph Rangnick team, the Erik ten Hag team, latter Ollie teams, Jose Mourinho teams, the teams had a lack of fight, a lack of energy, and a lack of intensity to them. And I think that game against Leeds yesterday shown us that that's not necessarily the case with the Ruben Amorim team. You can't say that they down tools. You can't say that they stopped playing for him, and you can't say that the players were being lazy, I don't think. So that at least goes in his favour. Not enough to keep him in a job, clearly, but I think that, it's worth mentioning. But there was also some mad low points. In January, after a 3-1 defeat to Brighton, he famously described the team as the worst in the history of Manchester United. That didn't go down well. And that honesty, whilst endearing him to some fans and pundits, also highlighted a little bit of the difficult task that we've got in front of him, but also might have ended up being his undoing with that press conference yesterday. So the 24-25 season, complete write-off. We finished poorly, we broke all sorts of bad records, and it was one of the club's longest winless runs in the Premier League era. Now, the press conference yesterday, I think that drew intense scrutiny, and like I said, it might have been the final straw. It clearly came on the back of some internal friction, and I think he was trying to clarify some certain points, and I think it's probably safe to say now that it accelerated his departure. In a presser, he was asked about his recent comments regarding tactical limitations and the recruitment constraints. And instead of commenting it or doing what he did on Saturday, he kind of clapped back a little bit. And his answer became the lead story for the last 15, 16 hours since it happened. He stated emphatically that he came to Manchester United to be the manager and not the head coach. And he referenced Tuchel, Conte, Mourinho, in trying to frame his role out that I'm the manager for the next 18 months. He wasn't the manager for the next 18 hours because they fucked him off quick. Now, whether or not that alone cost him his job, I don't think so. But I think it definitely was the straw that broke the camel's back. That was the last straw for the management team. And I think the management team themselves, there's been some talk that Wilcox wasn't quite on board with him. There's been some talk that it was more of a Barada appointment than Wilcox. You've also got Christian Vivel involved now. I think those three are going to be tasked with appointing the next full-time manager. Like I said earlier, it is going to be Darren Fletcher until roughly the end of the season. I think you might get an announcement on who the manager is going to be before the end of the season. You might not. But it looks like Darren Fletcher now for the next 6 months. We've been here before, haven't we? They need to be aligned. Those three need to be absolutely aligned on what they're looking for from the next manager. They need to be absolutely certain what they're getting, how they're getting it, and how they're going to support him. And they need to be unanimous in who they choose. Because if they're unanimous in who they choose, that means they are backing a philosophy, a formation, a tactic, and a man. And if they're unanimous in that decision, then they can support that man unanimously. Because I think what happens if you've got two people that favour one and one that doesn't, a little bit like possibly what saw Ashworth moved on, every single meeting when it goes wrong, people are going to be sitting there going, do you know what? I don't like him. I don't like him. If we talk about the club statement, the club's official statement focuses on one line. United are sixth in the Premier League and the leadership believes it's the right time to change, given the team the best chance of a high finish. That's quite neutral and strategic wording. Best opportunity rather than punishment or failure. They think that bringing in somebody else can get us into a Champions League space. I think that is what they're trying to say. Now, the talk of United's hierarchy pressuring, I think would be the correct word, Ruben Amorim to change and play a back four would appear to be correct based on that reporting. We have looked better when we've gone to a back four. I think them choosing Darren Fletcher, who we know plays a 4-2-3-1, 4-3-3 sort of hybrid formation, tells us that they think they've got the right stuff to do that. And I think if you look at the team that you're able to put into a 4-3-3, if you said, right, what's our options for right back? You can play Delo, you can play Mazraoui. Okay, yep, I'm happy with that. Centre half, you've got De Ligt and Martinez, I would probably call our first choice. I think you've got Maguire, Heaven, Yoro as your second choice. Backups behind them, Fredrickson below them. Yep, okay, I'm happy with that. Yep, that's fine. Left backs, you can go Dorgu, you can go Luke Shaw, you can play Mazraoui if you need to. Delo could also fill in there. I'm okay, yeah, that works. I'm happy with that. Okay. Midfield, Casemiro, Ugarte, Bruno, Mainu. You get a good three out of those four. You can go a little bit more defensive. You can go Ugarte, Casemiro, Bruno in games where, let's say City away. You could do that. Arsenal away, you could do that. Teams at home where you think, I want to open them up a little bit more. Maybe you go Casemiro, Mainu, Bruno. Yeah, that works. Yeah, I'm happy with that. I wouldn't mind another one, admittedly. Wouldn't mind an extra man in there maybe, but those four, you can get something out of those four when it's a three. The profile of those players suits a three real nice. And then your forward line. You've got Ahmad, you've got Mbeumo can play on the right. You've got Mount, you've got Cunha that can play on the left. You've got Sesko, who can play down the middle. Does that work? I think it works. I think it works. I think you're quite safe to say you can probably get a decent result out of that team. A better result than what we've seen out of the 3-4-3? Yeah, I think probably right. So the next phase then, Darren Fletcher. And I see the comments. People aren't happy in the comments. I think it's a bit of a nepotistic appointment. Is nepotistic a word? Should be if it's not. Darren Fletcher has been announced. Obviously, he's done fantastically well with the under-18s. Managing the first team from the under-18s, not the same, but it is what it is. Fletcher's been around the club for a while, and it's clearly someone that people at the club like, because he kind of had a bit of a not quite certain what his role was last season. This season stepped in as the actual under-18s. He was like a sort of technical director sort of role, wasn't it, before then? No one was quite sure. With the under-18s, we saw them go on an unbelievable run at the start of the season where they didn't even concede. They were so good. I mean, they have been so good all season. But translating that from the under-18s to the first team is going to be difficult. Now, I think there'll be a bit of a bounce against Burnley. Will that bounce carry enough into the City and Arsenal games to see us get a result? I tell you what, if he does, I'm here for it. I'm here for it. It might be the best chance we've got of getting a result against City and Arsenal, to be honest. I don't think there was anyone necessarily available. I think Maresca's name came up quite a lot because of the timing of him being departed from Chelsea. But I don't think it's a panic. I think it is a stability play. He knows the club, he knows the players, he knows the culture, and I think he is respected internally. His role now is almost like what we saw with Rude. Just go and let them play. build a bit of continuity, and provide a platform for the next full-time appointment. I think that's his game. For Fletcher, it is temporary, and, you know, I think it's a chance to showcase what he can do at the highest level under pretty shit circumstances, admittedly. Longer term, I think Amorim's departure is just another chapter in Manchester United's search for stability and credibility post-Sir Alex Ferguson. His appointment was what everybody wanted. He was a young, ambitious coach that had just won something, had clear identity, and his departure is probably a reminder of that. It ain't that simple, and you have to have alignment between the manager and the recruitment staff, the leadership, fan expectation, all of that. And I don't think today's about one press conference. I don't think it's about one result. I don't think it's about one tactical choice, or people might say the decision to play a back five was the tactical choice, maybe. But United do need to find someone that is going to build long term. I don't want to be Chelsea. I don't. I want us to be Manchester United, and that means appointing someone. And you can say that's idealistic and unrealistic. I don't give a fuck. Football is inherently romantic. Sport is inherently romantic. The idea that you can win something ahead of all the other clubs, it isn't realistic. That's the whole point of sport. Now, in terms of the people that I wouldn't mind seeing brought in, Nagelsmann, Xavi, they're probably top of my list. I think Glasner would have been on my list, but I don't think that the clubs... I think it's just a waste of time. De Zerbi might be on my list as well. I think Glasner isn't going to get a sniff, because even though he can play with a 3-4-3 and he's proved it can work in the Premier League, I think that the club would be mental to get rid of Ruben Amorim and bring in another 3-4-3 manager. I think that... I tell you what, if they did that, I would probably be the one driving the Ineos out bus. I think De Zerbi, Xavi, Nagelsmann is probably where my list kind of runs out. Everybody else is kind of like an ex-United, some or other, McKenna, Rude, Ole, Carrick. I can't see much beyond that, to be honest with you. I mean, do you guys think Maresca? I've seen a lot of people saying get Roy Keane in the mix. Aidan says, why is there such a lack of world-class managers? 10 years ago, there was loads. I think the lack of world-class managers is a symptom or possibly a cause of what we're seeing with a lack of in the individual intelligence in footballers. I think people know how to play in systems and managers know how to play systems. And I think there's such a lack of people who know how to take a game by the scruff of the neck, whether that's players or managers, because I think that that's not been rewarded in recent times. I think there's been such a focus on people going to reliance on systems rather than mavericks, whether that's managers or players. I hope I'm wrong, but I hope that at some point comes back in the future. Wayne says, Ollie and Keane, it's a team made in heaven. It's funny, isn't it? Because when you hear about, you know, when Ollie lost his job, Roy Keane, was it after he lost that job, or was it another time where Roy Keane like drove all the way to Norway to go and see him? Roy Keane's fucking sneaky on stuff like that, isn't he? People saying De Zerbi is the guy. Someone said Vidic, back to square one, get Nagelsmann, Ollie and Keane, get Rude and go and get Ancelotti after the World Cup. Someone saying Tuchel, Conte. Jason says Data. Ian Holloway for the laughs. I mean, you would get some laughs. Iriola's an interesting one. I'm going to write that down, actually, because I have written 10 videos out that I'm going to do this week, which has completely boshed what my original content plan is and fucking decimated my plans for today. But do you want to know what my 10 videos are that I'm going to do? Next one is how do we get here? So everything that's just happened, the full timeline of how it's all popped off. We might have a look back at the press conference. I'm going to have a look at Darren Fletcher and what he's done with the 18s. Have a look at what United's plan is. Now what? We're going to look at Ineos and maybe who's making the decisions of Evil, Wilcox, Barada. We'll look at whether Amorim was doomed from day one with the fit and the recruitment and all the rest of that sort of stuff. What it means for the squad, and then my shortlist for managers. Like I said, you know, we'll sort of evaluate all of those. And there's probably going to be some more stuff that breaks, but that's like my content for the next week or so. One of them in it. Emery's getting a lot of a lot. Do you know what? Yeah, let's put Emery down. Steve says, no way Zidane will come. He'll want full control, and that's not going to happen. Sam says, Xavi started the Barcelona rebuild around La Masia. Don't mind the idea of him. Very similar, yeah. He brought a lot of youngsters through. Glenn says, just ask the Sky pundits who they want, and they won't turn on every game. It doesn't matter. They all wanted Ruben Amorim before he got the bullet, or before he came. So it's one of them, innit? Eddie Howe. Why? Why Eddie Howe? You got no league tables in your house? Gareth Southgate. No, Gareth Southgate's on the do not fucking touch list. Toxic. Not at all. Gregory says, nepotism FC. Do you really think so? Do you really think that's why Darren Fletcher's got it? Garnacho liking the sack post. Of course he has. Do you know what? He can fuck off. He is just completely toxic, isn't he? Absolutely fuck him off. Prick. Fabregas, mark my word. Isn't he like owner, CEO, manager at Como, or have I misread that somewhere? Would rather Eddie the Eagle over Eddie Howe, says Shrewdy. I'm with you on that, market. This club has become a big joke. What about Maresca? I'm not really feeling Maresca. I mean, he's probably on a list, isn't he, somewhere, but yeah, I'm not feeling it. Fletch can't stay for 6 months. The whole coaching staff has just walked. That's a good point, actually. That is a good point. Who's Darren Fletcher's assistant? There's number 11. Fitz says, love this club my whole life, but this tests me. I hear you, mate. I really do. I really do. Do you reckon there's a chance of Rashford back in the summer? I don't want it. I think it's beyond that now. I really do. Number 9 Scrum says, Eddie Howe literally got Bournemouth promoted like 4 times. Wasn't 4, but okay. Moved to Newcastle and overperformed last season. Dropped off this season over because they sold one of the best strikers in the league. Did he, though? Like, but they're conceding goals all over the place. It's nothing to do with just losing a striker. I mean, Eddie Howe's record at Newcastle, I'm pretty sure, is not that fucking good. It's 50%. Really? Know what I mean? Gregory says Fletcher's wife as goalkeeper coach or technical director. Adam says Emery and Raid Villa. Wouldn't be mad at that. Keith Oliver says Newcastle will finish easily in the top 6. No, they won't, Keith. They absolutely won't. Xavi have a backbone. Newcastle, Ineos don't want that. Do you really think that? Kesh says, check Fabio's latest post. Still under contract. Let me have a gander. Just going to load up Romano's Twitter and see what it is being said. I don't understand what that means. Ruben Amorim has just been sacked by Manchester United. Decision made this morning. All right, it's not that one. Where? What? His latest post? What are you talking about? Well, his latest post 10 minutes ago was about City. The one before that. Yeah, mate, I'm not. I think you've been duped, mate. A9 says, I'm checking out of the United circus. 100 million on sacking managers since Fergie, yet recruitment never questioned. Recruitment's been questioned a lot, mate. A hell of a lot. And I think our recruitment's been fucking good under Ineos, right? I mean, Sesko's the only one that the jury's out on. And it's, you know, he's played 14, 15 games or something like that, max. No, I think that'd be very, very early to be to be calling that a flop at the moment. Chris says, how do you keep up with these comments? I'm stressed on your behalf. Just find a way. What about Farioli from Porto, young coach, plays a 4-3-3 and a bit more direct than De Zerbi. Joe, what? Check out Football Meta has got a fantastic post on Farioli about the way he deploys a shape. It's very, very simple, and I've been trying to rob parts of how Porto utilise their 4-3-3 for how Paddock play, because I agree. I think Farioli at Porto is very, very good. And yes, I agree. The way Porto play, for me, as a fucking non-league coach, it is a bit more direct than 60-70% possession. I mean, they still kind of have that. But I like how they go into the channel with the ball, and that's the parts that I'm trying to take from it. But yeah, I like that. Do I want to do a video look into United's Scottish football board with Fergie and McLaren Co? That's not a bad idea. Tommy Dock's Tartan Army and all that. What do I think of Ahmad versus Mbumo for the right wing spot? Will be a pity for Ahmad to lose his spot with his development in the last 12 months. I agree. Yep, listen, there'll be some winners and there'll be some losers with this appointment. I mean, Kobe Mainu would have bowled into Carrington this morning and said good morning to every single person in there. I am absolutely certain of that. But there will be players that are going to miss out. And Ahmad could be one of them. Why do United not want to sign midfielders in Jan? I just don't necessarily think it's doable, to be honest with you. I think it's going to be something quite difficult for us to achieve. I'm pretty sure if we can, we will. Emery should be top choice. Do I support the decision to sack him? That's a strange way of phrasing it, isn't it? Do I support the decision? I understand the decision. No, I don't say I do understand. I don't think I get Keno on my channel. Oh yeah, it's that easy, isn't it? Check out Sam Wallace's Telegraph article. Let's have a look. Any particular reason why? So he's just tweeted, this is slow to load up, apologies. He's just tweeted something about pre-Leeds United. Let me have a look. Ruben Amorim sacking decision. The decision was made before the Leeds United blow up in the meeting on Friday with Jason Wilcox. Details emerging of the swift collapse of the football relationship story here. Okay, that's interesting. I will have to check that out and add that to a little bit of context. Right, carry on with the questions, everyone. And if you're new, hey, do me a favour, hit subscribe. How about that? Did I have to cut the gym short? No. Oh, yeah, no. No, not because of this news, but yes, I had to cut the gym short. I'm fucking still ill. It's pissing me off, honestly. So day one of marathon prep today, it was meant to be a nice, easy 4K, and I could only do 3. I've got some gut issue that's fucking with me in a big way, and it's really getting on my tits. I am farting and burping about every 9 seconds. It's just... So I'm going to try and get some Yakult, see if I can calm it down. I might be pulling out of the High Rocks. I had a 10-week training block, and I've probably managed to train properly for about 2 weeks. So I think I'm pulling out of my Manchester High Rocks. McKenna and Carrick, don't think you're getting them. I don't think at the moment. I just don't think that's going to happen. Yeah, the question I was just asked, do you support the sacking? Yes, I support it. No, I don't support it. Blast that into the comments for me, please. Let's see what you guys are saying. What happens now with the youth to senior pipeline? Don't know. Can I do a video explaining how we potentially adapt to being a Farioli side? Would be interesting to see how you adapt his style to yours. Let me figure that out first, because I haven't had a training session since I was watching that video and figuring it out myself. And tomorrow's training session that I've got is thinking more about our opposition for this weekend. And I might actually... I don't know if I've got anyone available to film it, but it might be a good session to film just as a standalone video anyway tomorrow, because I don't often do tactical stuff directly for an opposition. So it might make an interesting video. Hands up for the Panther says, I hope some of our fans are happy now. Manager sacked. How do you feel? Fans shouted, raging in chats like psychopaths, saying Ruben out, sacked. It's sad. Always happens. Is there any appointment that would give you sausage roll party vibes? I'd love Roy Keane to be involved and get her identity back. I just don't think Roy Keane's been in the game consistently enough to be able to take that on and make that work. Would anyone give me the sausage rolls? Nagelsmann would make me sausage rolls. That's a big one though, I think. Michael says, is the job too big? Happy to see that Cobby might start. I feel like he was the biggest mistake he made. He was certainly one of them. Peter says, not a really realistic option as Norway is not a very competitive nation, but it would be good to see Kjetil Knutsen. Okay, we can have a look at that. Steve, talk about an interim coach coming in after Fletcher to the end of the season from Paul Hurst. What? I thought it was Fletcher was the interim to the end of the season. Okay, we'll have to look at that then. Let me write that down. It's going to be one of them today, isn't it? Let's have a look at that. All for having so-called footballing experts. Ineos, Barada and Wilcox have been average and have gotten away with it because Woodward was the benchmark mess. I think it's still very early to say. I think their signings have been good. I think they obviously weren't aligned properly on Ruben Amorim, and that's probably going to have cost them to a greater or lesser extent, I think. Drexler says, the problem with this decision is because they made it when he spoke up about the higher-ups and not because of the results. Go back to the rest of the comments, one sec. 60% are saying that they don't support the sacking of Amorim. I've got to be honest, I'm surprised at that, to be honest. But it's interesting that. Notch says, wait until you have more knowledge of the facts and reports before doing a video. Is that on the thingy appointment one, the interim one? I think it's just a fluid situation all day today, I think that there's going to be so much changes as more information comes out. I mean, like I said, I literally finished recording 5 things and I hadn't even sent it to the lads before it was outdated because we'd sacked him. Drexler says they're already putting out articles about backing him 250 million, but they shipped 3 attackers and bought 3 in. But yeah, I mean, that's true, yeah. I mean, I think I said this to somebody last night. I think we're probably a net negative in terms of players. In terms of where we are as a squad. Notch says, don't support the decision because the real decision behind it, not what's in the statement. Barada and Wilcox need to be sacked. Okay, can you articulate why you think Barada and Wilcox need to be sacked? Akash says, if they weren't aligned on Ruben at the time, why did they hire him anyway? I can't answer that. I'm only going off the reports that was like they weren't 100% on him. And obviously Ashworth really wasn't 100% on him, hence why they got rid of him. Ancelotti till the end of the season. I'd fucking love Carlo, to be honest. Wayne says, ex-players didn't help Amorim. They threw him under the bus every single week. Hungriest Alpaca says, Ineos equals Glazers. I can't accept that. That's just fucking clearly not true. Ruben to Chelsea. Chelsea win the league, says Ted. Imagine. That might be why he's on gardening leave and not actually been given the full bullet. Am I at right back? No. I think he is a good wing back. I think he's a better inside forward. I think he's a competent winger. He's not a right back. What do Barada and Wilcox have on their CV for director of football? Directors of football. At City. Zothan says, if we look back at our first match against Arsenal, that was the Amorim 3-4-3 we dreamed of. And balanced, yet frustratingly only seen once. What's my thoughts on Luke Shaw as a player? I'd probably move him on. Garnacho would be thrilled. I think Garnacho has been thrilled. One good thing is we are stacked on a bench for attack, but same time too many centre-backs. I think Maguire probably moves on, I think, in the summer. Gary Neville is a huge problem to our club, says Elgin. DB says, this has only been stated on the Telegraph article that Glasner's likely to replace United's top target, Ruben Amorim. I can't agree with that. You don't just... I mean, I know there's more than the formation as to why Ruben Amorim's gone. Of course there is. Results, possibly the way that they fell out with the board. But you would be mental to be... I mean, the reports suggest that they wanted him to play a back four, and he was playing a back four and then switching it back to a back 3 or 5. You would be absolutely mental to go for Glasner, with that being the circumstances that you find yourself in. Fucking mental. You would be. Bad Wolf says, sacking Amorim is like signing a new midfielder since we get to keep Mainu. Winner, winner, chicken dinner. Original Human said, did Delta Force raid Old Trafford to take the manager? First Venezuela, now United. Drexler says, they need sacking because they sacked their guy. Fail. Well, on the same rule, then, Martin Edwards was a failure because he was sacking people before he hired Fergie. Right? Like, people are allowed to fuck up. They should be allowed to fuck up. Because guess what? People fuck up. People make judgment calls. They don't know factually that things are going to be right or wrong. Or at least I don't think so, at least anyway. De Baird says, do we need more with Mbumo and Mazraoui playing each other in AFCON next round? Who do we need more with Mbumo and Mazraoui? I think we need Cameroon to lose. Morocco are going to go through. So let's all be Morocco fans and welcome Mbumo home, give him a cuddle and be like, hey, don't worry about it. Do you fancy going scoring against City? Anyways, I'm going to wrap it up because I've been live for about 2 hours between this and Rio, and the video that I did beforehand, and the one I did before that, and the gym, and I've got the shits, so I need to go and vacate the bowels. Apologies. What if Fletcher gets Champions League football? If Fletcher gets Champions League football, the noise for him to be permanent manager will be fucking the same as it was when Ollie did it, and it'll be very, very difficult to ignore. I don't know. Let's see if he gets it and then figure it out after that. But, I mean, we are capable of doing it. But these next 3 game weeks are huge for us. Absolutely huge. Anyway, I'm going to wrap it up. Subscribe if you're new. Make sure you like the video. Drop your questions and your comments in. I am making about a dozen videos today and probably won't be stopping until at some point when it's dark. Cheers for tuning in as always. I appreciate you fuckers. And I'll be back out on the walks in the morning if you want to come and join me in that. Otherwise, take it easy. Have a great day. See you in a bit. Hey, thank you for watching the video. If you are new around these parts, then don't forget to subscribe. My channel is proudly supported by my community on Patreon. If you'd like to get a little bit of extra content, a Discord group, meetups, 5-a-side games, weekly podcasts, behind the scenes, and even an occasional bit of transfer news as and when I get it, then for the price of a pint, you can show your appreciation for the content that we make and get some goodies for doing so as well. Check the link in the description or click the button right here. You'll also find all of my socials here too if you want to follow me on any of those platforms. Nice one.